Hello, you gorgeous people. Welcome back to another episode of Still Positive. My name's Dayna. I'm your host. Today we're doing something a little bit different. I am going solo. I am chatting about lymphoma because I realize maybe not a lot of people know what lymphoma is. When I was a young bee, I did not know what lymphoma was myself until the doctor told me I might have it. So I wanted to share with you a little bit more about my life living with lymphoma. Let's be real. People love to gloss over chronic conditions or disabilities with a fleeting comment like, just be positive, or a fleeting insult like, kale will cure you. This is a podcast for when you face a different reality, knowing that positivity isn't a magic wand that's going to cure everything, but a flashlight in the dark that we may or may not have batteries to. Living with a chronic illness or disability makes you feel different, and your difference could be noticeable to others or not, but either can sometimes make you feel invisible. I'm here to tell you that your experience is valid and shared by others in the dark. Positivity is not the missing puzzle piece that's going to solve your life's puzzle, but it can be a beautiful tool that can help you grow, and sharing those experiences can make us grow together. So folks, Lymphy over here, lymphoma lady. I have been living with lymphoma for way too long, way too long. Probably like 8 years, right? 8 whole years. It's like, wow, that is a long time. And how I describe lymphoma is probably extremely different than how a medical professional would describe lymphoma, or anyone that would be considered a expert on the topic. Even having it, I should be an expert because it's basically my full-time job, but somehow I've sort of learned about it, really dove in, and then decided to forget the rest of it. I was like, this thing I have, oh yeah, I remember learning about that. And then I just, every single subject in school, I just basically forgot the rest. So I'm just living with it now, pretending like I'm fine, but being aware of it at the same time. So anyway, I have described lymphoma as a type of cancer that is in your lymph nodes. So where are your lymph nodes, Dayna? Your lymph nodes are basically within your whole body, and they are these almost like nerves. I think they're like these little pockets in which line your body. But with my specific lymphoma, it's in a couple different spots. So people can have lymphoma in a couple different areas because your lymph nodes are all over. Common spots are like your armpits, your neck. Those are pretty common. Mine's in my chest, and then it's spread into my lungs, which we're TBDing on. We're not really sure. Gonna get a biopsy soon to really check out what's going on in my lungs, because they're like, yo, we don't know what that is. And yeah, so TBD. But lymphoma is said to be one of the quote unquote good cancers, which is always offensive, especially when you're still dying from it and they're like, oh, but it's a good one. You're like, cool. It doesn't really feel good. Yeah. They say it's good because classic Hodgkin's lymphoma is quote unquote easier to treat than non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Cancers are all bad, folks. So if we're going to say it's good, it better be in the context of ice cream. That's it. Those are the good things in life. And it should not be applied to cancer. while I am very glad to hear that the remission rate is very high in classic Hodgkin's lymphoma, that doesn't mean diddly squat, folks. Doesn't mean diddly squat. It could be not the case. Every single person is different. I mean, I've said it a million times. I'll say it again. Every single person is going to react differently to different things. Everyone is their own individual person. And it's like weird that you see someone and they're not the same as the other person that you may be looking at or that you are. And yet still people are like, but I have actually gotten better from eating blah, blah, blah vitamin every day of my life. So you should too. Not the case. So anyway, I mean, I'm sure we're going to get into that too a little bit down the road, but like, let's not bog each other down with like fake fucking cures that everyone says. Right now, I'm going to read off what Wikipedia has to say about lymphoma. So first of all, when you type in lymphoma, this is the exact thing that I did when the doctor was like, you might have lymphoma, Googled while I was sitting in the doctor's office. And this picture of this blobous, like white, foamy, bloody thing comes up, right? Cool. That's already like a really good sign. That looks so beautiful, right? So like we're saying infection, okay? It says lymphoma is a group of malignancies that develop from lymphocytes. The name often refers to just the cancerous versions rather than all such tumors. Cool. Signs and symptoms may include enlarged lymph nodes, fever, drenched sweats, unintended weight loss, itching, and constantly feeling tired. The enlarged lymph nodes are usually painless. The sweats are most common at night. True. I literally cannot get over this horrifying lymph node that they've shown on Wikipedia. Like, this is why we never Google things. So after it talks about possible causes of lymphoma, it goes down into treatments. Treatments may involve one or more of the following: chemotherapy, radiation therapy, proton therapy, targeted therapy, and surgery. I've had chemotherapy, targeted therapy, and surgery. Not really surgery though, because I'm not taking out any lymph nodes. That's the thing. They can't really remove any lymph nodes. I mean, unless I'm wrong about that, but they're kind of in there. You can't really cut them out. Could be wrong. Don't quote me. In some Hodgkin's lymphoma, the increased amount of protein produced by lymphoma cells causes the blood to become so thick that plasmapheresis is performed to remove the protein. Cool. Watchful waiting may be appropriate for certain types. And that, folks, is where I've landed. Watchful waiting. It also says that the 5-year survival rate in the United States for all Hodgkin's lymphoma subtypes is 85%. Great. While those with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is 69%. Sucks. All of them suck. Worldwide, lymphomas develop in 566,000 people in 2012 and caused 305,000 deaths, making up 3 to 4% of all cancers, making them, as a group, the 7th most common form. All right, so like we're in top 10 here, people. Okay. Dude, looking this up is bringing back some real fears? I don't know. Like, I know what it is. It's like reading about it, they hype it up a bit. I'm just kidding. That's terrible. I mean, you gotta kind of take it with a grain of salt. I'm here. I'm doing my own thing. My breathing's fine. It's just what it is. I tell people it mostly is fine, and then it just affects like my breathing. And for me, that's like, oh, sometimes I can't breathe well. And I forget that that's like pretty major. So people react to that and they're like, oh my God. So, cancer has been a long road. And I mean, the goal originally is to get you into remission. But in order to do that, I have to go through another stem cell transplant, which is where they wipe you out with chemo and make you neutropenic. So they make your body have absolutely no white blood cells to fight any sort of disease. And once your body is clear of anything that would fight off the cancer, they come in and they give you new cells to regenerate. And hopefully those new cells look at the cancer and they're like, whoa, you shouldn't be here, dude. Like, back the fuck up, because we're in here now. And we're telling you, you got to get out of here. And he's like, nah, man, like, it was just like 5 drinks I had. Like, I'm going to be fine. I can just chill here. And they're like, no, dude, you're nodding off. You got to get the fuck out. It's time for you to go. So then hopefully he, she, they, them get out and move on, so that I come back and they're like, you're cancer free. But that whole process is very dangerous. Like all things with cancer, there are success and failure rates, and the failure rate for a 3rd time stem cell transplant is pretty high. So I'll take not being able to breathe sometimes over an increased risk of death. Sorry to get so morbid. I mean, it's cancer. That's kind of just what you get. That's why, I talk about cancer pretty openly, clearly. But also, I like to just like lighten it up, because I'm living, I'm doing my thing, and treatments are going okay for me. And that's not to say that cancer is easy in any way. I'm just saying that I've been really fortunate in being able to be on targeted treatments that are very new in their development. And I feel really privileged to say that. I get to go on a clinical trial and test out new drugs that are targeting my lymphocytes and trying to attack them instead of my whole body. So that's what chemo does. Chemo just like attacks your whole body and is like, fuck everything in here. It's going to be demolished. Fun fact, many chemos are derivatives of mustard gas, the thing that was used to kill people in World War I. So it's pretty intense, and things are derived in different ways, and instead of killing people, it's now saving people. And I think that chemo gets a really bad rap because it sucks. And yes, it's chemicals. Yes, they have side effects. Yes, they sometimes don't work. But I don't think that anyone should be judged for taking that or not taking that. I think that if you choose either one, it has to be really well researched, and I think you got to call it quits at a certain time if it's not working out. And pulling that trigger can be hard. So, I don't know. I have been able to have a really good support system. Some people haven't. And that's tough. Some people are also really good at making decisions. I am not one of those people. I need like 5 different opinions, and then I need like the 6th one to be totally radical. And so that way I completely rule that out and I start like saying which ones are actually the ones for me. But if I don't get that radical one, I might not be able to make that decision. I have to like firmly say no to one, and then it's just like a tumbling effect after that, if you will. So for me, some of the really radical ones that I have said a hard no to in my beginning stages of chemotherapy. So let me preface, like when you first get diagnosed, you're feeling terrible, right? For many reasons. Like you're fucking sick. So imagine you're sick. And then imagine that people are being like, well, you have to make a decision about this right now. And it may or may not save your life. And you're like, okay, let me just wrap my head around the fact that I have this thing that's more serious than a regular cough. And first, that's tough. And then second of all, like you're throwing these options at me. And I'm trying to be like this holistic, beautiful goddess woman who is able to cure everything herself. And that's not the case. So you're fucking scared, right? Scared as shit. And I'm sorry, but it's easier to say that you would do something that hasn't been proven if you don't have to face the circumstance, as opposed to if you're facing the circumstance of death and then you're like, oh, this option is 85% effective, as opposed to this other one that some rando on Reddit said worked for him. I'm going to go with the other one, actually. The one that's been tested for years now and has been targeted to specifically this disease. Gonna err on that side. So, I mean, everyone's their own person. Like I said, if something's not working for you, make sure to change it. And your brain at that point goes through a lot of denial. For me specifically, I went through denial for a little bit, pretended like everything was fine, pretended like, before I got diagnosed, going out a lot, pretending like drinking was going to solve it. Drinking was going to make me feel better. Doing drugs was going to make me feel better. And then I was like, I'm coughing up a lung, so I need to go to the doctor. But, so anyway, tangent over. When I was on chemo, after I decided, like, this is the route for me, I'm going to do this. Then all these people came out of the woodworks and they were like, oh, you're doing chemo? I actually have this friend who has a vitamin line. Their vitamins were sourced from Malaysia. And they were found in caves by monks, and they have been proven to solve all different kinds of cancers. And I was like, okay, good for them. Glad that worked for them. I am on chemo. After that, I had people suggest, hey, you know what? I've heard that snake venom actually really helps to get out tumors. And I said, I'm terrified of snakes. I don't really feel like getting injected with venom from a snake bite. So also going to pass on that. The thing with chemo is that you pretty much know what you're getting. It's like a franchise over a mom and pop shop. You know, I love a good mom and pop shop. But the thing is, sometimes it's questionable what you're going to get out of it sometimes. Sometimes it's banging. Sometimes the wrong chef is in. And in franchises, yeah, McDonald's is full of chemicals. But also, they're the same chemicals every time. So I felt comfortable doing the franchise version of Save Yourself as opposed to the snake venom of Save Yourself. Didn't really feel like the same for me personally. But I did also hear from multiple people who also were healthy. All these people actually were healthy that were telling me these things, right? I mean, I knew them all, except for one, pretty well. And they all didn't really have chronic illnesses. So it was just like a read article or something like that, where they talked to someone else that did it. Fine. But don't spread these lies of it's going to cure you. My favorite cure that I heard from two different people was drink your own urine. Just drink it. Pee in a cup and drink that. And only that, by the way. Only your own urine. And I was like, I can't do that. I had to literally nod my head and say, I understand what you're saying. I just can't do that. Like, I think that the temperature would be only one of the factors that would make me not want to be able to do that. The taste is another. And then it's the fact that my mind is telling me you're drinking urine. Like, all of those things combined, it's like I would absolutely choose not to do that. I give anyone that is much credit, I guess. But also, like, seek some other help with that. Like, seek someone that is going to be the naysayer of that and just like give them a listen. Like, hear out what they have to say, and then maybe that will be your deciding factor. Like, some of those things do make sense. It is my own body's waste that I am then drinking. So, fun fact, I mean, the second time I heard it, I was like, well, this is a ride. I mean, I am surrounded by people that believe that this is the cure. I am surrounded by healthy people that think that this is the cure to my disease. That hasn't been solved ever. Like, they've never come up with a cure for cancer. And so it's just amazing to me to really think that people that offer these miracle cures to others are thinking that the doctors were blindsided in this and just saying, no, we're not going to look at things that are in this earth. Like, we've never tested those things. You think that they would miss that? Like, after years of research? Years. Like, before most people were born, they've been looking into this. I just want to say there's a side to every story, but I think that drinking your own urine is maybe not the side that we should go on here. Just my opinion. Anyway, so that has been my 3 crazy cures that I have heard. Malaysia, vitamins, snake venom, and urine. Those were all fun. But The feeling that I got from them each time was that you're not doing enough. You're not looking hard enough to solve this problem for yourself, and I actually have the answer. That's what I got every single time. It didn't matter that their heart was in the right place. It didn't matter that they thought they knew what was best for me. I mean, maybe it was that, but it's really like an overall guilt that I'm not trying. And I have enough of that. Everyone does. Everyone's got that feeling like I'm not doing enough. And when it's about your own fucking life, like step off, dude. Or dudette. Or they, them. Just step off. Like, it's not your place. I don't know. It was tough. It was tough going through this in general. It was even more tough going in through it at a vulnerable age of my early 20s. And being in that stage where like you're always being told what to do, but you think you know what's best. But you're just losing control and you've never really known what control was. Like that's the hard part. I feel like control is such a funny thing and you really lose sight of it when you're going through a chronic illness or a disability because it's like there's nothing you can do except for, you know, your mindset. Keep thinking of the best possible scenario and manifest that shit. Not that that's going to cure you. I think that that's always a misconstrued topic that, you know, being positive is going to cure you. I don't think that. I know that it's helpful for your sanity, but the realist and the pessimist in me knows that that's not going to be the cure. I think that it's more so that it'll help you light that fire in the dark times. And hopefully you get you to a point where you just laugh at it, you know? Because there's nothing else to do except for make jokes about it. So that's what I started doing. Making jokes about it and making people feel uncomfortable. That is my favorite part. Because my lymphoma is still fucking positive, I keep it light, folks. Keep it light, keep it moving. So lastly, what I'm going to leave you with is some talks about my YOLO life. Now that I have been in a spot where I can live my life, live my YOLO life, I haven't done too many things that were out of the ordinary. Even with having cancer, I'm able to do things that healthy people might be able to do with some strain, with some breathing issues. And, you know, difficulty breathing can still go on a hot air balloon. I was able to do that. Can still go to a concert, was still able to do that in non-pandemic times. So I think I had the most trouble when I was given like the okay from my doctor to do these things. It was sort of like now that the pandemic's quote unquote over from the CDC, we don't have to wear masks. We're all good, like quote unquote. So it's just like this turn of a switch. They're like, oh yeah, you can go and do that. Like, oh yeah, you can go and not wear a mask. When we've been living in these times where that's essential to wear and protect yourself and others. And they're just like, nah, throw it out. Throw it the fuck out. Get it out of here. You never needed it in the first place. Like, that's what it feels like. And that's how it felt when my doctors were like, yeah, just go travel. Yeah, go travel. Go do your own thing. You're fine. Yeah, that's fine. Absolutely. We want you to be happy. And I was like, it felt like I was given this new opportunity for life. And at the same time, I was like, I am so depressed that I can't do anything. I can't go travel and have this fantastic time because my cancer is still with me. It's like, it's never not inside of me, not even by my side. It's never not inside of me. So me going across seas to have a panic attack is the same as me coming here and having a panic attack, like with better views. So it was, I mean, let me not shit on traveling because let me tell you, I want to take a whole bunch of trips now. But I'm just saying that it's this sort of like overly boasted feeling like they survived cancer and they decided to do XYZ and look at their lives now. When I've heard many of those stories, I've heard many of other stories where, you know, they are living their lives, but the celebratory aspect of it makes it feel so mundane because you're doing the same things that almost anyone else would be doing if they didn't have a chronic illness or disability. And yet you're given this like entitlement of it being such like a huge fucking deal when you're like, I'm just going somewhere. Like I'm not really doing anything different. And it feels so much worse because everyone else is so happy for you that you're doing these things. And you're like, yeah, so are you. Like, it's just built up to be something. Like when people say you're so strong, most of the time cancer patients are quite weak. So chemo demolishes pretty much everything in their bodies and leaves them really thin and very weak. So I think it's hard to say like you're so strong when that's the weakest you might ever be. And it's something that we have to work on. Better wording for that. Anyway, that's all I have, folks. I mean, I have a lot more, but like we'll save it for a little mystery. So maybe like in another couple episodes, I'll jump back in and tell you a little bit more about, I don't know, what this lung biopsy tells me, or like, I don't know, if I really start drinking my urine. We'll see. Please keep laughing. Keep smiling. Keep shining. Keep doing your thing. Yeah, I'm so happy that we're continuing to chat. Let me know if you have any questions about lymphoma. I'll do my best to tell you about it from my perspective. I can't promise that I won't have any weird voices. I try to not, and they just come out. So we're doing our best here, folks. Like I said, keep laughing, stay fucking sick, and give yourself a hug. Give yourself some self-love. And I'll talk to you sooner rather than later. I'll talk to you eventually. Reach out. Say what's up. And keep the dream alive, folks. Live your YOLO to the fullest extent that you can. Even if that means you only live once, so read a book. Or you only live once, so watch SpongeBob for the 50th time today. I mean, that's basically what I'm going to do. So enjoy the rest of your day, stay sick, and tune in next week for another great episode of Still Positive.